Okay, hello and welcome to this video. I'm sure you're wondering what an Alaskan cruise is like and if it's worth it to go on a cruise to Alaska sometime during the season. I'm here to tell you about everything that happened and some of the goods, some of the bads, what we did, how we saved money on this cruise. You know, just some tips. This is for the Norwegian cruise line. We took the Bliss ship, and I think that's like the Norwegian one that goes out of Alaska. I think the main one. I do want you to keep in mind that my experience was at the beginning of April, so this was the first cruise to go out back into Alaska, because it's like too cold during the months of, January, February, March to go out and, see those glaciers and things like that. So April was the earliest we could do it, and it also was spring break, so it fell in line with Haley's job, which is teaching. And speaking of teaching and teachers, Haley gets a teacher discount. So if you book with Norwegian, the cruises, she gets a discount. And on top of that, there's Norwegian buy one, get one flights. So we flew from Philly to Seattle, and it was a buy one, get one free, so we only had to split the cost of one flight, basically, which was amazing. So I recommend Norwegian because of that, the buy one, get one free flights, if you're traveling with somebody. Okay, let's start off with, transportation real quick. So we got from Philly to Seattle, and then we had transportation already booked that was included in the price of the cruise to take us from the airport to the boat. This is something that you prepay for, but since our flight on our way back was at 10 p.m. we wanted to explore Seattle because we got off the boat at 8 a.m. So we wanted to explore Seattle, so we canceled the shuttle. We got those $36 back for each person for that bus ride. And then we kind of just spent the day. And then instead of getting an Uber, we looked at all the possible transportation methods, I guess. And we decided to do a train, which was $3 a person. So it was a lot cheaper than the bus. So just be wary of your options and what season you're going in and how much everything is going to be, Ubers, Lyfts, trains, things like that, because it's pretty easy to get on a train and go somewhere. It's pretty easy. And even if we didn't want to pay for the bus ride to get on the boat, we could have taken a train into Seattle and then walked there to the port. It was just different because we had a carry-on suitcase with us along with a backpack, because we didn't pay the extra plane stuff for an extra suitcase bag. So we literally did Alaska with a carry-on and a backpack. That's all we had. So when you're packing, I did a whole video on when I was packing for Alaska. I also have all of my Alaska videos in a series on a playlist in my YouTube channel. So if you go click on my playlist, you'll see the Alaskan cruise. You can go watch those videos, but I shared with you what I packed. I basically just brought one winter coat, 2 pairs of long sleeves, and then the rest t-shirts, because on that boat it was so hot. It was so hot. It was either there was a lot of people, it was fully booked, and everyone was everywhere, and they also probably put the heat on in the boat, so it was really hot until you went outside, and then it was freezing because Alaska is cold. So that's something to keep in mind. So don't bring really, really warm clothes, because if you're on the boat, it's going to be hot. Just forewarning there. So let's talk about the first place, which was Juneau. So we went to Juneau, and we had a tram booked. And the tram doesn't open until 1 p.m. or so. Our boat got there early, so we had to wait. So we just kind of went around to the shops. I will say this for most of Alaska. If you don't have an excursion booked, or you're not going on a hike, it is mostly going to be all shopping. So it's going to be all small stores. It's going to be like Alaska printed on everything, hats, shirts, t-shirts, things like that. There wasn't really much else to see. It was just kind of stores and like the scenery. Haley and I made an attempt to try to hike at every place relatively. So Juneau, it was, again, this is early April, so it was snowing in Juneau. Now weather could be really, really iffy in Alaska. Most of the time it's raining. I think there's like 96 days where it's sunny in these places. And thank God that we hit somewhat of a weather window. I honestly thought I was gonna have to be more waterproof than I had. So the only time it really rained was Juneau. And Juneau, it kind of misted, so it doesn't really count, I think. But when we took the tram up to the top, which was like $50 a person, but it was so beautiful at the top, but it was snowing. So we went up there and it was snowing, and we tried to do this hike on the top, and there was so much snow that we weren't able to do the hike. We were able to do like half of it, and that was it. But it was still so fun though, because it was beautiful, it was like a snowy white Christmas. It was just gorgeous, right? So just be prepared, or bring yak tracks. But even the people who had yak tracks that talked to us were like, yeah, this is hard and we can't see the path. So we just go straight up and straight down, which is not smart, because people were sitting on their butts sliding down the hill on the trail. And then, yeah, so just be prepared for that. Be prepared for the rain. Be prepared for the snow. My parents did not bring snow boots or hiking boots. They just brought sneakers. So again, be prepared for multiple situations. So bring boots, period. Period. But yeah, Juneau was fun. I really recommend doing the tram, because it's very small and there's a lot of people packed onto it. And again, the line was just incredibly long. And that's another thing, is that usually when the Alaska season starts going, there's more than 2 boats at one port. Now, I don't know if you know this by watching my videos or whatever, but Alaska ports are very small. And so I thought there was a lot of people there already, just on the boat. Like, there was just a lot of people everywhere. And to think that another boat could be there, I mean, the lines would be so impossibly long that you probably couldn't even get on the tram. So just be prepared for that. Book early. With the whale watching, we did see whales. We saw whales from the boat. So we didn't have to go on an excursion to go see whales. And granted, it's an iffy situation if you're even gonna see whales. And it was $500 each person, $500. And Haley and I, being the budget travelers that we are, we're like, no, we are like, absolutely not. It's just not worth it, because you could see them on the cruise ship, basically. And you can see otters on the cruise ship. Like, you can see all kinds of things like that. In terms of balcony views and binoculars, I would say if you're like really into, the whole binocular things and seeing things up close, then yes, bring the binoculars, or get like a cheap pair, because binoculars are really cool. Jimmy had some and they were awesome. Now the balcony was nice because everywhere on the ship there was people like over the railings, basically. Like, the whole thing was packed. So I do think that, getting a balcony is smarter. My parents got a balcony, so I just used their balcony. Me and Haley had an inside room, but it is something to invest in if you're going to do Alaska, because that way you have your own little private section. You don't really need to leave, especially on the Glacier Bay day where you are on the boat the whole time just looking at glaciers. Having that private part just for you is great, and the boat gets both sides. So you'll see both sides. You'll see everything by the time you leave there. So I do think a balcony would be worth it. I just had an opportunity where my parents were getting one, and I didn't see the point of getting another one too, right? In terms of the entertainment and stuff to do on the boat, this was interesting because there were things to do, right? There was a go-kart track, there was pools, and there was like hot tubs, there was mini golf, there was quote-unquote laser tag. We never really found the laser tag place, so I don't even know if that was on the boat or if that was just a false advertisement. I don't really know. The go-kart track is $10 per person each time you ride. So that was kind of ridiculous, and they're the electric ones, so they don't even go that fast, and you have to wear a helmet. Take with that what you want. We didn't go on it because it wasn't worth it to us. And the mini golf place, it was on the back of the boat, and it was pretty small, but still fun to do like once. For late at night entertainment, like shows, comedy things, game shows, things like that, it was okay for the most part. It wasn't like anything great, except for the Jersey Boys Broadway show. So you had to reserve tickets for that, and it was honestly incredible. I feel like they saved all of their money on entertainment just for that one show at the end of the cruise. So I do recommend the Broadway show, but all the entertainment is like so it doesn't matter really if you miss it. They either have like another show or something similar to that the next night or whatever. All right, now we're talking in terms of food. It's cruise food. It's a large amount of food, and they kind of just pack it in these boxes. I mean, you know, you see it when you get on the boat. Like, you know, it's cruise food. And when you have a dietary need, I'm dairy-free, lactose intolerant, that stuff. My girlfriend is vegan, right? She can't have, like, you know, dairy, eggs, all that fun stuff. So we had to go to a chef the first day we got on the boat to make sure that our dietary needs were met, and we had to pre-order every single night. So even if we didn't eat at the fancy restaurants and we ate at the buffet, we still had to go down there and pre-order for tomorrow. So that was a little bit annoying. I feel like there has to be a better way to do that, either like before you get on the boat, on the cruise, or something like that. I feel like that should already kind of be dealt with, so we don't have to do that if we don't want to. It should already kind of be like set for us. And the desserts, listen, they love to give us like shaved ice as a dessert, and it really is not in comparison to what everybody else gets. But they really think that shaved ice every night is what you should be getting as a dietary need. And so we brought it up to one of the managers. We're like, hey, listen, is there anything else we can get? And then he brought us chocolate mousse for the remainder of the trip. So we formed a bond with that manager, and that manager took care of us. So you just have to find a manager, basically, if you have a dietary need. Food wasn't too bad. I could eat seafood, so there was a few nights where there was like seafood options. It wasn't a lot. I honestly was very surprised that there wasn't more seafood, because, you know, we're going to Alaska. There's lots of salmon, and there's fish, and, you know, tuna and stuff like that. Like, we kind of there was just options of like steak or like chicken, like at the buffet. There wasn't really much like fish. I mean, there was like fried fish. There was a lot of fried stuff, which I'm not a big fan of. There was like 2 nights where we had salmon, and that was like the special, and it was good, and they didn't have it anymore. So, you know, I wish they did have more options other than like beef and chicken a lot of the time in the buffet. But the thing that I did enjoy about this cruise ship is that they had like a noodle bar, and they had like an Indian bar, they had a burger bar. The only issue with the burger bar is that if you ask for a veggie burger, you cannot eat the buns because the buns have dairy in it, they have milk in it. So you kind of just have to eat the patty, which is not fun. But so just be aware of that. Make sure you're always asking if you do have a dietary need, because you don't want to be caught off guard by anything. We went to Juneau, we went to Ketchikan, Glacier Bay, Skagway, and we went to Victoria, Canada. I wish we had more time in Victoria, Canada, because we got there at 8 p.m. and then we left at 12 a.m. So our time was basically only at night, and most of the shops were closed or closing So it was kind of just, you see the sights, you go to, you know, the touristy shops, right, with all the Canada gear and stuff, and you kind of just hung out basically until like 10:30, and you had to get back on the bus. I wish we did have more time in Victoria, because Victoria was beautiful. You know, there was palm trees, but you know, I saw them in the dark, but there was palm trees, you know, it was gorgeous. We saw the government building, everything like that. I just wish it was during the day, or we got there earlier. But it just takes a lot of time because it's a U.S. boat going to Canada, so they have to pass this like custom thing, and like then you got to fill out a custom form, and you know, you got to show these people, then you got to bring your passport, and you can't lose your passport because then you won't be able to get back on the boat, and there's a whole thing. So, but I just wish we were there during the day rather at night. But I guess there's only so much you can do. With Skagway was pretty cool. That was a pretty great hike that we had. We hiked down to a little cove, and then we hiked out to the point, and it was a great hike. But then like the rest of the day was just kind of walking around the town, walking in shops, just looking at things. Again, if you're not hiking or doing an excursion, you're kind of just in town, walking around, looking at things. In Ketchikan, I feel like this was the worst one for me. It was not really there wasn't much. It was just a port town, right? It was like a harbor. And you know, there was like a little creek, and there's like a little village stuff, and then you can walk like 15 minutes to go see these totem poles, and that was kind of it, right? We tried to do a hike, but then the hike fell apart in like 2024, so we weren't able to do the hike because it was blocked off. But yeah, anyway, that was Ketchikan. It was, you know, I feel like that you go to Ketchikan and it's like, okay, this is what Alaska is really like, right? It's touristy in a section, and then if you go out of it, it's just like regular everyday life. Overall, it was pretty good. I mean, the boat was pretty clean. You know, everyone likes to hide those ducks, those little ducks. That's always fun. You have to like look around the ships to see if anybody's hidden any ducks. I think it was a pretty good experience, and we got to see Seattle as well. Everything kind of just worked out for us, and we did hit that like weather window, so it was amazing. I will say that the hot tubs on the boat are not warm. They're not as hot as you think they would be, right? It could be because of the weather. It could be just because the temperature is not hot enough. I don't really know. But when I got in them, they were not the warmest things in the world. And then they also have a whole part of the ship blocked out for the havens people, which is like basically you pay like $5,000 a person to have a luxury cruising experience where you get like your own pools, hot tubs, food options, like, you know, all the special things. Again, I don't think it's worth it, truthfully, but and I think you get like a pass to go like in and out of the ship easier, I guess. Let me tell you, getting in and out of the ship was a nightmare. Like, the lines were so incredibly long. It was busy, it was packed, and that's probably because the boat was big and there was a lot of people there, obviously. But yeah, that's just my experience. So just be prepared for that if you're gonna decide to go and and do this cruise. I think cruises are the cheapest way to do certain things like this. I think we paid $1,500 for the both of us, like we each paid $1,500. So if you guys enjoyed this review, or if it helped, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have been on an Alaskan cruise, what did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. Maybe we can have a relatable experience. Great, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and do it loud and leave it up. Everything is linked down in the description below, including my Patreon page, so if you want to go support, you can. I also have a link to some of the traveling shirts that I have in a travel bag as well. You can help support the channel by doing kind of those things. But yeah, okay, bye.